Good evening, all. Good evening and welcome to this, the 92nd edition of Burlington and Beyond. It's hard to believe we've come that far, but we have. And we have another exciting show for you tonight. We have an individual who is he manages to do a lot on his own, and he's accomplished an awful lot on his own. His name is Lonnie Brennan. He is the editor, the chief operating officer for the Boston Broadside, which is finally a newspaper that is worth reading. I could not tell you how much I think that you should be concerned and look for this newspaper. And I'm sure Lonnie will, and Larry here on my right, will also tell you. Terrific newspaper, a terrific program. I urge you to get a copy of it. Find a copy of it. If you can't find a copy of it, contact me. I will get copies for you. Okay? So we're going to talk to Lonnie tonight to find out a little bit about the paper, about him, and what we're trying to do. And the important thing how important a conservative message is here in Massachusetts. It's especially important. The other party, so to speak, is it's weighted too much for us. I think this is something certainly in the right direction, and I urge you to get a copy or find a copy or call me and I will get you a copy. At any rate, Lonnie, welcome, and
thank you, sir.
Tell us first. Let me just mention that Larry, my co-host. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to slight you.
That's okay.
I'm happy that you're here. I'm very happy that you're here. Lonnie, tell us about yourself. Tell us a little bit about how you got started.
This is probably the 9th paper that I've worked on since a kid. The only one that's cost me time and money, but having a lot of fun with it. As I started mentioning to you slightly before the show, I had been writing a monthly column for a local paper, just volunteer thing. And
do you like to write?
I guess I've fallen into it sometime over life. And the last headline on it was that the big solution to DCF was that they needed Department of Children and Family. At the time, it was all through the throngs of Justina Pelletier. I'm not sure how many people remember the child.
Right, I do.
From Connecticut. Yep. It was basically taken by Children's Hospital and taken by our government. And the big solution to that, according to the big front page headline, was that DCF needed more money.
Yeah.
And I don't think that an organization that's approaching $1 billion worth of spending needs more money. And I just said, if not now, when? If not me, who? I know that old expression. So it was a Wednesday night, and I just decided, I said to my bride, we're newlyweds, it's only 30 and a half years, so she still has another 30 or 40 years to train me, hopefully. And so I said to her, I'm going to start a newspaper. I'm just, done. It's time to let people's voices be heard and give voice to the voiceless. What do you do? What? And I goes, no, don't worry, we'll go slow. I'll put it online. It'll be online for 6 or 7 months. We'll get some advertising revenue, and then maybe someday we'll be able to go to print. And she looked at me because she knows me. So it was up online by Sunday. I got the domain name and got it up, bostonbroadside.com, got it up for Sunday. And then on Tuesday, I was talking to a printer, and by the end of the week, we had copies. So we printed 1,000 copies, and
now this goes back 4 years ago?
This goes back, a little bit more than 4 years.
A little bit more than 4 years.
55 months, I guess.
Yeah.
So it was spring 4 years ago, 2014, I guess, and if I'm doing the math right. And so if you can imagine me, I've parked near Beacon Hill, and I've got a stack as far down as my arms could reach, and as far over as my head that they would possibly go of newspapers going to a Jeff Cooner rally. He had a rally on Beacon Hill for Justina Pelletier.
I remember
and
it.
I got there, and by the time I got there, I'm sweaty, I'm dead, and bundles are dropping all over the ground. I just kind of dropped them all over the ground. And it was before the rally, and people looking at me like I'm some kind of nut. Okay, I'll take that. And I picked up a bundle and started handing them out. And by that time, Beacon Hill is not easy. I walked, I'm sweaty.
Was Jeff the big draw?
Jeff was a big draw at that thing there. Jeff and several others, Jim Lyons, Mark Lombardo, a couple of the representatives. And So I handed out the paper, and it was all about Justina Pelletier. We printed the smuggled note that she had gotten to her parents out of Children's Hospital, Beta Lockdown Center, and a number of different articles and stuff, just to try to get the paper out there and try to start getting some of this information on page one,
Sure.
so to speak. And within a few minutes, people come, can I have a copy of that? Can I have a copy of that? Then people are like, let me help you distribute it. Papers are gone like that. People are everywhere.
Really?
I had 100 or 200 left as more people were coming to the rally. I was still handing out, but I left there empty-handed, the papers were everywhere. It was really well received, and people were like, where'd this come from? I goes, it just started. This is the first one. So we haven't increased much, since then. We do 14,000 now. So we started 1,000. Every month we add a little tiny bit. Okay, well, it's not where I want it to be, and it's one of those things like I could print 100,000 copies tomorrow, and we'd be out of business the day after tomorrow because everything costs. We actually did do that. We did that August, just before the primary. We printed 100,000 copies of a short edition. It was like 16 pages edition just for the primary, showing some of the candidates, and it was incredible. The reception, the reaction. It all started because one candidate said, you're going to be putting anything out before? And I'm like, yeah, I'd love to print 1 million copies, but I'm not a millionaire. And I said, but if we can find some folks to help distribute them, and our normal distributors and all the volunteers, maybe do 100,000. So I contacted my printer. They thought I was nuts. So you go from 14,000, 13, 14,000 to 100,000. They're like, cool, great. I ordered the press time. That was Friday. Yeah, I made the decision on made a decision on a Wednesday. Thursday contacted the printer and spent Friday, Saturday, Sunday trying to drag up enough people to distribute and enough advertising to get it to print. And it all came together. And we went out another week later. The following week went out. Big kudos to the Massachusetts Republican Assembly, the Republican wing of the Republican Party. I say the conservative wing of the Republican Party, because they took as many papers as they could possibly give them.
What is it
They were
called again?
all-
The Mass what?
MassRA.com.
Massra.com.
Actually, Mass, MASS-RA.com.
Are you familiar with it?
I have heard of it. I've had two people recommend that I go there, one being Mark Fisher and another being our own Paul and Marianne. They recommended from our Burlington Town Republican Committee.
Cool.
They both recommended that I attend
Keep
there.
it in mind, see if
Cool.
we come up with someone.
Yeah, maybe we can attend one of those, 'cause they are open meetings to Republicans.
Yeah. Where are they, do you know?
I'm not sure,
They meet a number of different places, and they're also going to have a convention in the spring,
Yeah.
which is, I think,
Are you
open to the
familiar
web and
with...
stuff like that.
Go ahead.
But they
Go
took, a,
finish
they
your
took a
story
million
first,
papers.
right?
I just saying, they took 1 million papers and distributed them everywhere. I'm exaggerating, 1 million. We printed 100,000.
Yeah.
And a number of the campaigns, Dr. Scott Lively, a number of his people were distributing the paper. So it was nice to have that taste of 100,000 out there when you're doing 14,000. So.
Sure. Yeah.
But now we're back to the normal.
Let me just ask a few other
ahead.
overview questions.
sure.
So do you have a purpose for the magazine? A goal, or something you're looking to achieve with
I don't know.
with the magazine?
I don't know.
We know it's conservative, but is that the objective of
Well-
the magazine, to be conservative, to
Well-
be a conservative voice?
I don't really say conservative. Everybody says it's conservative, and granted, I'm conservative. Okay,
That's
I
what I'm asking.
I was born an Irish Catholic Democrat in the city of Salem, Mass. And when you're born an Irish Catholic Democrat, that's your religion. When you walked into downstairs, my grandparents were downstairs. Us 6 kids were upstairs with my parents on the top 2 floors in downtown, in Salem, down in May Street in Salem. So when you walked in to my grandparents' house, crucifix, the Pope, and John F. Kennedy. Those were the 3. Okay. Sometime along the Reagan years, and certainly the Clinton years, I became a Republican. I've always considered myself to be a reluctant Republican, because with the paper, we put on the front page here, we put the words "fighting corruption, lies, and apathy." New England politics and beyond without the liberal spin. I guess 2 things there. I wanted to just leave on there, as we had in some of the early editions: no fear, no favoritism, because we're just as obnoxious to the Republicans as we are to the Democrats.
Yeah.
If you're a Republican, you do good, you're going to get praised.
Right.
You're a Republican, you do bad, you're going to get condemned.
Right.
It's just the way we're not going to filter it out. We're not going to make a Republican look good. We're not going to make a Democrat look good. We're going to hold a mirror up. I wanted to have a paper that would give voice to the voiceless, get things out there that you're never going to see in the Boston Globe or even in the Herald. And, again, this conservative liberal thing, my problem is that liberal used to be a good thing. Now, on that scale of things, liberal is extremist crazies who are going to key your truck, shut you down, throw things at you. I don't know who these people are.
And they have no parameters.
They are a disgrace to humanity, is what I consider them.
It's only if you have a Trump bumper sticker on the car.
Well,
then they do that.
I should show you the back of my pickup truck, okay? So, my bride, again, I say bride because it's only 30 years of marriage so far, so it has a better connotation. She says, "Oh, get hit again today." I think so. I don't know. There's so many dents on it, you can't tell now. But I just don't get that. I dealt with Obama, who I didn't like, and didn't approve a lot of things he did for 8 years. Never wished ill for the man. Would never throw.
He was civil.
Yeah, would never throw a rock at
That's what's
something.
gone. Yeah.
Or scrape a car, or tell someone that they're evil.
You would never deface a sign that said Obama, am I right?
No, but again, I don't want to look at it, but it's there. Deal with it. You deal with it. You win some, you lose some.
That's what we're
it's
all
politics.
taught, but there's a different politics out there
Yeah.
now.
Look at what
It's
happened to
sad.
Ted Cruz, last week? In a restaurant, he and his wife, and they actually had an army that went in, and they were yelling at him and screaming at him, threatening him in the restaurant. I mean, there's no need for that.
There's actually a good side to this, though. I keep thinking every time these incidents happen, and it happened with the press secretary also. The same thing. What was that, Red Hen restaurant or something down in D.C. area?
Yeah.
Every time they do it, it reminds me of a talk show host. The first, I forget his name, but the first guy who was doing talk show hosts, and they interviewed him one time. Phil Donahue.
Okay.
Phil
Oh,
Donahue.
yeah.
And they interviewed him one time, and they said, what are you doing putting, he'd have just these crazy people on, the neo-Nazi group, or the this group, or just all these kind of insane people. Why would you give them airtime? And his response was spectacular, I thought. He said, so that everyone in the world will see who they are, see what their character is, see what they stand for, and know just how bad they are. Every time they show, and they try not to show the video, but every time they show, you see on the internet, what happens to a member of Congress, or a congressman, or a representative being attacked by a mob of crazy, ultra-liberal Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
We know what those people are like. So I wish they'd play it every single day.
Yeah.
We're
We're getting close to every single day.
Well, I don't want the incidents to happen every single day, but I think people need to know this is not how you're supposed to behave in life.
No.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
They don't know that anymore. They've forgotten over the last 8 years. I
Something's
think
happened.
they feel they have a duty to harass
I don't get that.
opposing viewpoints, and it's their duty and responsibility to. So it's dramatically changed over the last 8 years.
Yeah.
Do you think Soros is playing as
I don't
big a
know.
part as they?
I don't know. I assume yes from everything they say in life. That he bankrolls it. Look, how could it be that they have a nominee gets announced now? That instant, and okay, everybody line up here. We have all the T-shirts all set to put on for his. We picked this guy. Leave those other ones in storage for the next one, and the bumpers, and they got all these signs. Everything is ready and coordinated. These flash mobs, if you will. Really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's
No, that's all true. I mean, he does fund Black Lives Matter. He funds Antifa. Those are all part of his groups, among with many others throughout the last decade or so. So he is a part of it. He does have an agenda for this country, what he wants to come about. But our magazine doesn't really get into that too much, right? We don't really get into what George Soros is doing, what he's funding.
No, but we do try to cover, in addition to local, we cover politics. And I think just about everything in life is politics in some way or another. But we try to show some kind of balance to it, when we can, put things in. I think we are balanced compared to, we're the opposite of the globe. But we have national writers in here. We publish currently three syndicated national writers. I want to do more, but it's all a matter of time and money. So we cover Michelle Malkin.
Okay.
We have Michelle Malkin, Pat Buchanan, and Coulter. our national writers, and they'll write about national issues. And for example, in the October issue that's right out now, I have 2.5 pages, almost 3 pages, dedicated to the Supreme Court nomination. Why? Because it's the biggest thing around, and we had 5 of our writers write about it, 2 local folks. Jeff Cooter, great commentator,
He is.
WRKO, phenomenal guy. He wrote about it. Bob Snyder, retired attorney, who writes columns in the paper, phenomenal columns. He wrote about it, and of course the 3 national columnists. And it's like, it's an issue that I don't want to even cover in that kind of depth, because there's so much to it and there's so much going on, and we try to come to issues like that after the fact to try to give a little perspective to what's going on, but you can't ignore certain things. So that's why we gave it 2.5 pages, almost 3 pages just on that, in a monthly publication that's only 24 pages long. So,
2 or
but it
3
needed
other
it.
guys that
you know.
gentlemen that write, they have radio programs. I can't think their names that are.
Well, what we have in there is we have a section which actually we've been doing this reader survey, and we had published it in the September edition, and it comes out almost number 1 or number 2 on almost every single survey that's come back, and that's the radio quote section. We grab what few conservative local radio shows there are, such as Don McCaig does an
Don
excellent
McKay,
show
that's
on
what-
WXTK.
That's what I was thinking of.
And sometimes we'll have shorts from him, and sometimes we'll do excerpts that are long from him, and we
Yeah.
do these radio shorts.
Yeah.
A lot of the times they're on page 2. I think on the September edition they were further in, but on the current October they're on page 2. And we'll quote from others, you know. Certainly Howie Carr will do a little quote from whatever he's had on there, just so people see, here's who the radio host is, here's what stations they're on, or if you're online, if you want to stream them, and what their hours are of broadcast, and what their phone-in number is. Because we want people to get engaged.
Yeah,
into more
does Pat
different things.
Buchanan, you have the same situation with him? He volunteers an article every.
No, he's a syndicated paid columnist. we have to pay the
For
syndicate,
his-
the three columnists that are syndicated, nationally syndicated. We have to pay them for their articles.
And
It's
he's-
not much.
Yeah.
But we pay Pat Buchanan. We have him through one syndication along with Michelle Malkin, and then we have Ann Coulter through a different syndication. I know because I write 2 different checks. You know, so.
Can you comment on who started this?
Okay, I'm going to blame Ted Tripp. Ted, are you watching this?
Well, how do you explain what that is? What
Yeah,
Pat
okay,
just pointed to?
I'll hold it up. This is fun. We
It
try
is.
to try to have a lot of fun in the paper, and this, you hear about pork belly spending or pork politics spending all the time.
yes.
So I'm not sure if people can exactly see that, but what this is, if you glance at it, is it's a number of legislators with pig noses on. And if they were especially egregious at the pork barrel, they also had pig's ears on. So, what it was is actually, this is part 11 here that I'm looking at here back in June, but Ted did a 13-part series on the House budget amendments. Now, these are things that are grouped together. Everybody asks, it all happens behind the scenes,
Right.
no debate,
Right.
inside a closed room with a guard in front. And after we published a picture of the guard one time. You can't get into that room while they're debating it. And
It is
listed all the
amazing
different
the
things that
amount of
they
money
do.
they spend.
Almost $750 million. Now, can you imagine having almost $750 million in your budget? Now, don't get me wrong. We didn't touch anything here that had nothing here is listed that has to do with health or has to do with veterans.
Yeah.
Or anything of that
Oh, it's-
nature.
they're their own little personal
This is up in Draycott, the lady putting in $25,000 for a gazebo. This is
Gazebo.
somebody for tennis courts, somebody for. I mean, the list goes. We publish a short. Whoops, I got it upside down there. A short amount of list in each edition,
Yeah.
just to give people the flavor
This
as we go through the different
alone
parts.
is worth looking at in the paper. To see the amount of money that these people spend is just incredible, and the things that they spend it on. This is completely out of the budget. You know, I mean, they just drag that money out of the budget, and ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous the amount of money that is spent.
Well, I think the
for it.
thing about it is that it points out things that are unfair. Now, I need to back up for 1 second. One thing I should have said about the newspaper is that everyone who picks up the paper in a store, and they can buy it from Sturbridge to Framingham and from Orange up through southern New Hampshire right now. The central part, we have it distributed in the stores for $2 a month. We do some free distribution to other areas. We're not currently in Burlington yet. You can go north to Wilmington and buy it in various stores in Wilmington, North Reading, and as you head south.
I will be your
You know,
vanguard.
so thank you. We have a lot of volunteers that distribute on the North Shore. Several thousand copies go there. But in every edition, there's going to be something in there that I think you're going to like and you're not going to like. There's going to be things that you're not going to agree with. You're just not going to like.
You're talking about this still?
Yes, and I hope there are. Okay, so I'm looking at here something that I'm going to say, and I think you might not like me, but one of the items that it identified here for pork, it just bumped out at me. This is the Bill Ricker High School Athletic Association. So they put in not less than $25,000 for the Bill Ricker High School Athletic Association. Okay, so why are we against the Bill Ricker High School Athletic
No, but I
Association?
would
My
think-
question is, why didn't Burlington get $25,000? Why didn't Salem get $25,000? Why is it that one place got something? And that's the problem. Why does one police station get a new, whatever it happened to be that was in one of the editions there, they got new command center radios. But the next town, they didn't get it. They didn't get it. It's whatever the reps could get for pork. It's so
But my
inconsistent.
contention is that all of that money should be adjudicated. It should be within the budget, and it should be, well, how do they justify leaving this money aside? It's a democratic thing,
I'm going to quote Representative Jim Lyons, because they can.
because they can, exactly is
Because
what I
they
said.
can.
It's a democratic,
You
they
know?
set the money aside. This is much like the pay raise,
Because they could.
because they could.
Because they could.
40% pay raise because they could. And who pays for it? We do.
Yeah.
We do.
Through the nose. You know what I wanted to do? I wanted to find the February edition. You might have it down by you. I gave you some
An
past
older?
editions. Yeah, if you just go back to the bottom of the pile there. I think it will make the case for what we're trying to. I got a few here.
This one?
Yeah, if you could just go to the very bottom of that pile there, somebody. I think we need to go a little bit further. Sorry for keeping the people on air here. But there's a chart. Yeah, okay, so I was wrong.
This one?
Nope, that's April. You know? Sorry, people.
This one?
I'm wired in, so I can't make my way
Yeah,
over there.
no,
If
this
you want
one?
to just hand me the stack, I can go through it in 2 seconds.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry
That's
to
all right.
inconvenience you. But I think this is
It's
actually kind
well
of
worth the effort.
It's pretty stupid of me that I didn't anticipate it and have it here.
It's not this one.
Sorry, I don't have it memorized. But January, February. Okay, the one with, this is what I mean, that will probably, pardon me, probably piss some people off. We've had Donald Trump on the front page of many issues from his inauguration onward. And articles about him. February edition here, because it has the pork pig. But I'm almost positive that this is the one that has the legislative chart. All right,
Oh, yes,
drum roll,
I-
please. Dun, 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 dun.
remember that.
Okay, thanks. That's what I wanted to show. You may not be able to see. Oh, there's the camera there. I'm not. You can tell that TV's not my media. Okay, I'm print. But I guess that's the camera. Okay. You might not be able to see what each individual block is, but every blue block is a Democrat. Every red is Republican.
Why don't we try that camera over there? I think we might be able to focus in on it.
Okay.
And can you
Whoops,
do
I'm
that?
kind of glancing in that direction there. Nope, ain't happening right now.
Show it to both, a little bit to
we'll-
both each.
All
I'll
you have to
show
do
a
is
little
turn
bit
the
more.
camera on and she'll probably
Yeah.
be showing it, but
She doesn't
That
have
gives
it.
you, it gives you a pretty good picture of what the legislature looks like.
I'll pull it up when she puts that camera on. But basically, all of that blue, those are all your Democrats. That's how many reds you have. So I got to do this backwards here. Sorry
Yeah,
about
on
that.
the
So I was looking at the silly TV thing monitor here. So
As opposed to the number of Republicans, you can
yeah.
see how.
So you can see we're a little bit lopsided there in the legislature, and it's the same thing as you go up, and particularly at the higher offices, it's all Democrat. I don't know. I don't think we need any more Democrats. I think they're pretty well covered. You know, I think it's pretty
No,
well
we don't.
covered.
Don't.
So I think it's worth paying attention. Not that every Republican runs is worth getting a vote, just like not every Democrat, but it's worth at least listening, to that. There's a lot of reasons for this.
okay, please, let's hear his reasons.
go ahead,
for
go
this
ahead.
here.
Oh, we have no Republican Party in Massachusetts.
No,
You know, and that's with Charlie Baker. We have an
He's
inconsistent.
not Republican Party either.
Well, we have an inconsistent attention, I guess, from the Republican Party and the Republican State Committee. To have this go on, okay, this election cycle right now, 82% of those Democrats there do not have opponents in the House. 82% of them have a free pass. They don't have to worry about anything. So going back to why they vote the way they do, they've never had to say, well, my opponent. They've never had to utter the word, my opponent. They are happy. They're comfortable. They should be inflicted a little bit. They should have some opposition.
Yes.
But Charlie Baker has given them an 82. Charlie Baker is the head of the Republican Party in the Mass GOP, and the Republican State Committee has given 82% of them a free pass this year. That's pretty bad.
That's
You're
bad.
only opposing 23 of them.
And why is that happening?
You know, I don't think there's any interest in most of the races except for perhaps retaining some of, and he's doing a good job, I think, going around with some of the current Republican reps that are on there and running fundraisers with them and trying to help them out.
Who is doing a good job?
Charlie Baker, in terms
Okay.
of doing that. So I got to give him his due when I see him do well. He'll do something for Mark Lombardo or Jim Lyons or others that he'll do cooperation with, even though he may disagree with them vehemently on certain issues. They disagree, which I think is kind of cool. We talked about the extreme liberals not getting along. Well, within the Republican Party, there's a wide range. You've got Charlie Baker, who is further left on the social issues than Obama, by his words and by his actions and his deeds.
Yeah.
An anti-Trumper, and the list goes on. And yet he'll talk to Republicans that are the most conservative in the world, and they do have a dialogue. I like that. That's good that they can at least have the dialogue. And I think that's part of the paper here too. Have a dialogue if you can. But I don't know the answer. I just ask the questions.
Let me ask you the overall question. What does
yeah.
the Republican Party needs to do to make this a two-party state?
They need to want to do it to begin with. They don't want to do it. All the activities that are going on right now with all these victory offices that they've established around the state, they're basically data collection centers where you go in there and make phone calls on behalf of Charlie Baker. That's all they are. They're in
Basically
front.
what it is.
And
It's
they'll
for Charlie
use
Baker.
candidates. And there's a bunch of green candidates that are running that don't stand a chance. I mean, I'm sorry, but there's some candidates that are running that just won't stand a chance out of the 23 that are running.
So it's apathy.
And I don't know. Some of those, they're green, they don't know any better, they're running, and they'll collect a lot of data for Charlie. And sorry, Charlie, he might be a nice guy, and he'll get reelected, and everybody will like him, but hey, we have a great ad in the current paper. And this is what I mean about things that will upset people. Massachusetts Republican Assembly. Now, this is the Republicans saying this.
Blank
Okay.
Baker, 2018.
Blank
Blank
Baker.
Baker.
Oops, I got to turn at the right angle there.
Republicans say, yeah.
Blank Baker 2018. Do you ever think that a Republican group would come up with that? With a big blank newspaper page, full page ad here, with the website of where to go to. So
Think
you
we're
can buy
back to
bumper
that-
stickers.
that camera.
Oops, I'm sorry.
There we
That
go.
camera over there.
Perfect.
I'm looking in the wrong place, doing the wrong thing. Blank Baker 2018. They just started that, Friday.
I
And,
cannot even begin to imagine what it would be like if you had a legislature that was fairly well balanced. How much good it would do the state, how much good it would do the people of the state is just incredible as opposed to what we do have.
Well,
A typical example is the legislature and the pay raise. It's unopposed.
yeah, but okay, let me, at the risk of upsetting you, okay, who your rep down here,
Mark?
having a brain cramp on his name,
Yeah.
the Burlington representative.
Oh, Ken Gordon.
Thank you, Ken Gordon. Ken Gordon. I'm having a brain cramp on his name, but I believe I printed out his stats. Sorry about
I've
that.
seen them.
Yeah, they're
I've
atrocious.
seen them. It's
They're atrocious.
ridiculous.
Actually, what I printed out was the roll calls, the 479 roll calls that took place so far this year on Beacon Hill.
Yeah.
And most of these roll calls, they take place, all in the matter of an hour.
Yeah.
They're just overriding the governor's
Yeah.
veto.
What's the name of the organization that keeps track of them?
Mask Fiscal Alliance
Mask
does a
Fiscal
great job.
Alliance.
So there's two groups that have been around for a while now and rate your legislators. Citizens Taxation gives Gordon an F. Mass Fiscal Alliance, I checked his score before coming down here because I'm like, I know he's bad, but is he really that bad? People like him, friendly guy. 0. He has a 0 rating. How do you get a 0 rating? Well, you go in there and you vote and you put illegals ahead of veterans. You go in there and you vote and you say, oh, no, we're not going to put any committee minutes online. You know, you go in there and you vote and say, no, we're not going to publish this bill online and wait a day before voting a tax raise. You have to be really against transparency, and you have to be really for your pay raise and everything else in the world. Because out of, what did I say there, out of 479 votes, every single time you voted to increase and you voted against transparency, and yet people will be like, oh, we know him, this, and they'll vote their local guy.
Well, he comes, he's charming. As a matter of fact, he does a program here. He is as charming as you can imagine.
Absolutely, positively.
That, I have argued with him. I have, as a matter of fact, he went out of his way to come. I wrote, I was supposed to meet him one day at a coffee shop, and he didn't show. And I left a note for him and told him that I was offended. He came back and he apologized and whatnot, but we never really got around to sitting down and talking. Primarily because he avoided it. He did come to me one time and say, I'm sorry or whatever, but never. No, he's a typical politician.
They have a guy up in Danvers. He fortunately has an opponent. Everybody loves Ted. Ted's
Spiliotis.
Yeah, he's got probably, I forget, I don't think he has a 0. I think maybe he has a 12 for a rating.
Yeah.
An F, not an F minus.
Yeah.
Same thing in Beverly. P, I can't remember his name. I have a brain cramp here, sorry. But the exact same thing.
How many of them follow the...
Almost 100% with the Speaker of the House. Is that what you're going to say?
The leader. What's his name?
Yeah.
The Speaker of the
Bob
House.
DeLeo. Yeah.
Bob DeLeo. They all follow him. They all take their marching
Just
orders.
about. There's very few that have not, and usually they end up getting kicked around a little bit. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So do we have chances this fall to change that ratio of
No.
Republicans to Democrats? So
No.
nothing's really going to change even
Nothing's
this
going to change.
November
It is
election.
my headline in was it last month's edition? My headline was "It's over before it started." When you're not even going to field a team, you're not even showing up for the game. I mean, that's it. You're giving what's the exact number there? 103 of them a free
That's
pass.
because the Republicans don't have candidates.
Nothing. Now, don't get me wrong. There was one year when Mitt Romney made a mission out of trying to get somebody to run against everybody. He dragged up anybody he possibly could to get on the ballot. That was equally as crazy because they all got up there and they all had all these little individual fights and they all got crucified. They all lost and just about it. So now we have the extreme on the other end of fielding practically nothing for candidates. I mean, like I say, only 23 of them being opposed there in the House. So you can't change anything.
What is it that needs to happen?
Well,
And how long would it take to do that?
you could
If the
probably
party gets serious.
you could probably turn it around. You could probably turn it around in 10 years. You could probably turn it around in 5 election cycles. It would require you to have a commitment that you wanted to do it, and there's things that I don't think people are willing to do. For example, you have a candidate in Danvers. Mark Mazzina is running against Ted Spiliotis. Mark's running a campaign with virtually no money against a guy who's been there forever. A guy who's been there forever. And everybody knows his name. How is he going to win? And when you walk around the district, none of Ted's Democratic buddies have opponents. So they're all helping Ted, donating to Ted, at Ted's events, promoting Ted, being part of his campaign. When I've seen wins, it's been like, for example, when Lenny Mara won. When Lenny Mara won up in Georgetown, where I'm at, when he won, almost all the reps around him had opponents. So they weren't. So Lenny had a fair shot right against his opponent. That was it. It's a one-on-one kind of thing. He didn't have to fight all the existing reps. Every time somebody goes and runs, if you run for office right now, you're on your own. You might get a little support from the Mass GOP. They might pay for a mailing for you, and that'll be great. And they're going to pat themselves, on the shoulder and the back and, whatever in the chest and thump. And we're supported. We gave, $100,000 to our campaign, whatever number it happens to be. You fought it on your own, on the ground, on your own. And you had nothing else going on. There was no coordination of a campaign, among campaigns, no real strategy. There are some people, I bring up the Mark Mazzina case because Ted Spaliotis, he had somebody run against him who got 49% of the vote, Tom Lyons, last cycle around. Somebody else, another unknown, had got about 49% of the vote. That is a winnable seat because there's a lot of negatives with Ted. But you need a lot of action. Can Mark Mazzina do it? I don't know. I'm not feeling it right now, but he might, and it would be a great surprise. So that'll give you one. That'll give you one win. And when I talked about us, meaning the Republicans giving a free pass to all the Democrats, or 82% of the Democrats, they're not being as kind. Half of the Republicans, 48% of the Republicans are being challenged. And there aren't that many of them. There's only like 33 of them.
Yeah.
So they've all got races. They're all being tied up. And with big opposition. I mentioned Jim Lyons' names earlier. Jim is the most conservative person in the State House. He brought the nativity scene back to the State House. A long story there, but he put out an email, and I'm like, well, I got wood, I got saws, I built him a creche. So it's been there in the State House. But he has Barack Obama coming out and endorsing his opponent. Barack Obama getting involved in a local rep race.
Really?
Against this. Yeah,
Wow.
that's today's news.
Wow,
Barack
I didn't
Obama
see
getting
that, yeah.
involved in a local rep race. There's a lot of things I haven't
Oh,
paid attention
God.
to today and yesterday,
Yeah.
but that one shot out at me like a rocket.
I have to tell you about
A lot you have to run against.
Well, that could actually be helpful.
Yeah, but we don't have. It might. It might help to boomerang against them, but we don't have a Republican state committee, a Republican committee, if you will, the Mass GOP. They're not organized to win Republican seats. They're not organized to hold accountable individual legislators. They'll do platitudes to say, "Oh, the Democrats are bad. The Democrats are terrible." That doesn't mean anything to me at all. In every story in here, we say Democrat rep. Whoever it happens to be, Republican rep. We bring it to the man, to the woman, to the person. We name them for what they did. Here's how they voted. This is what they did. We put it straight out. These generalities of, like I just did earlier, the big blue against the red. Well, what difference does it make? They're all horrible, people say. Well, it'd be nice to have some dialogue and to look at some of these issues on these roll calls. And
Mass Fiscal
so it's-
Alliance is
they're
pretty,
phenomenal.
Is very representative.
Yeah.
I mean, they're honorable. They do take.
Yeah, very impressed that they're out there and that they're ranking them.
Yeah.
They're
I have to
ranking
tell
them.
you just quickly about an individual I taught school with down on the South Shore in Plymouth, Tony Cabral.
Okay.
And he's in the legislature, has been there. And I remember sitting one day with him. It was raining. We went out and had lunch in the car, and he told me, and I couldn't make any sense out of it at the time. He said, he announced it. He said, I'm going to be running. I'm going to be leaving teaching. I'm going to be running for. And I said, why do you want to do that, Tony? He said, because that's where I can make a lot of money.
Oh my God.
Wow.
That's
Oh
where
my
I
God.
can make a lot
Oh, he's right.
of money.
He absolutely is right about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, not just for himself, but his
Yeah.
friends and
He
families.
wasn't even born in America. He was born in the Azores.
Wow. That's his reason
He
for
had
it.
his party broadcast to the Azores so they could
Wow.
all celebrate. Yeah.
I thought you were
And
going to say
and
he was
he's been
running,
there
so
now-
he thought he could make a difference, but
Yeah, it must be
I thought something like that too.
15 years,
sucking us right in.
20 years more.
Yeah.
20 years he's been there, or maybe more. Anyway, he's probably typical of many of them. I have to congratulate you not only for being aware of all of this, but taking the bold step of putting this down on paper, and now taking a very difficult step of getting this paper out into the hands of the public, because that could be a beginning. That could be. I mean, if they see enough of this blank Baker, I don't know, maybe not just that, but if they see enough
Yeah.
of this.
The pork spending, if anything lights up, it would be nice.
Yeah, but getting it into their hands is
Yeah.
the first part of the problem.
I like newspapers. I like print. I'm just old school that way. And I know there's a lot of stuff online and things like that, but there's something about having the printed page and having the printed
I
paper.
agree.
What's strange about this paper here is that we're entirely inverted on the financial model in terms of, as I said earlier, the only people that make money is the people selling the ads. 65% of the income comes from the subscribers. Subscribers are what are driving this paper and driving everything about it. 10% comes from advertising. The papers are so dense with text, it's like reading a magazine. And people call it a magazine, even though it's in newsprint, because it takes you forever to read it. Because we try to get at least 24 different stories into it. This time we had 34, I think it was, different stories, and they're different writers. And I'm trying to get different voices and different writers into each one, and knowledgeable people. We mentioned Jeff Cooner. I was so honored when he offered to write a column into the paper. There's just so many of them. Ted Tripp's entire expose and articles. His current issue, it's EBT card. He's done a 3-part series on EBT card, and it's called "Don't Leave Home Without It." And it came because not only is it, and the compassionate side of us says people that are down on their luck, you want to give them food and things like that.
Yeah.
But they can use that card any place. They can use it in Disney, and they have, and they can use it at Las Vegas.
Buy anything with
But
it.
if you want to go to the Museum of Science and go there, 4 people, a couple, whatever, it's going to cost you about $120.
You had that.
There's a chart
That was
inside
one of
there.
them. Yeah, you had the
EBT
whole
card,
list.
I think it's like $5 a person.
Yeah. Every
So-
single
Wow.
public venue
Oh.
was more expensive for the taxpayer than
yeah.
it was for the.
The EBT card is great.
EBT.
The current issue, it's not only are we going to give you food, but if you go to a farmer's market,
Yeah.
because the food's better there, we're going to give you extra money. Here's an extra $40 to spend, or extra 60 or extra 80, depending upon your family size.
Yeah.
So we're going to drive more money towards the farmers markets.
See, most
kind
people
of weird.
Most people are not aware of that. Most
Yeah.
people don't, and that's it's a tough message to get out to make them realize what it's costing legal immigrants that people who are legally here.
Yeah.
Forget about the illegal immigrants.
Do you know what I think is a problem in the state? I think it's what you alluded to earlier about your background. About a lot of people just coming over to this country and believe in their chosen religion, the Democratic Party, because, hey, they come here to be Democrats, not capital D, but small d Democrats.
Yeah.
And so just naturally you vote for Democrats. They don't even know what a Republican is. They don't know the difference between. It's just that, well, you're an American, you vote Democrat. I think I'm hearing an awful lot of that in this town. And I think that's one thing that needs to be overcome. And the other thing is we've lost control over who we are as Republicans. They feel Republicans are stingy. They don't care about the community. They're all in it for themselves, all in it for big business. And the reality is that's all flipped to the Democrats. They're the ones in favor of the bigger businesses. They're the ones that actually in this town are not participating in charities like the Republicans have been. So it's a matter of getting people to take a look at the two parties again. Have you been familiar at all with the walk-away movement, walking away from the Democratic
Not
Party?
really. Like I said, because I walked away, back in the Clinton era.
So
back in the
you were
Clinton
a little
era.
early then.
So Clinton and Monica did it for me. So I was out of the Democrat Party then. I should have jumped in probably earlier, the Republican Party. But I remember my uncle saying, "Lonnie, we love you, but Republican." Because how do you split Irish Catholic, Democrat? That's we love you, but Republican. I'm like, look, I haven't voted for a Democrat. I can't vote for a Democrat. I haven't seen any that are worth voting for, that I'd be proud to sit down, to have in my house, to be near. I know that's a terrible thing to say. I'm really of Democrats. I mean, there's 6 kids. Okay, 4 of them are Democrats. They're good. They're fine. For politics, we disagree. So correction. 3 are Democrats, 1's independent, and 2 are Republican.
2 Republicans.
So we're getting there slowly.
And are some of the Democrats that you know also concerned about the amount of violence that seem to be being preached
Some of the
from our
Democrats,
politicians? That's too much for them?
Okay, do you remember Harry Reid's thing where he said Mitt Romney hasn't paid taxes in 10 years? And so people are, and then afterwards, he's proven that he had lied. He goes, yeah, but it worked. He's like, I know Democrats that I could name on air right now, but I won't, who their attitude is, it's a game. They don't care how they win it. They don't care who they manipulate, just as long as they get through that goal line, of the election. They'll cheat, steal, let anybody vote. Get in there to let anybody vote, tell you to come up there as Joe, the next minute you're Ed. They'll do anything they can to win.
How did it get like that?
I think I've tried to plug myself into. So one thing I try to do is, and it's hard. I'm going to admit it's hard. Is I try to listen to some of them. I try to watch some of their shows on TV. I try to watch some of the CNN, some of the MSNBC, and I try to listen to the WBZ here. 10:30, the news reports, and there is so much propaganda in every single word that everything that they'll say. If Trump did something, if Trump was to put his glasses down here, they'd say Trump threw his glasses on the ground. Trump almost broke his glasses. It's so distorted. And after you listen to that so much, you're in that echo chamber. That's all you do hear. And Republicans are evil. Democrats are good. That's all they hear. That's nuts.
I think also the Democratic Bible is called Rules for Radicals, which talks about just that. It's winning, how to win. Not ethical, but it'll get you points in the poll.
But I think that they believe it's worth it. Whatever they do to win, because their bigger good is whatever they stand for. So they're willing to do whatever it is.
And that's why if they even have to deal with corruption, they feel it's justified.
Which is so bizarre. I can't.
To you and I, it is, and it wasn't always like that.
Yeah. So,
but that's the way it is today.
I can't grasp liberalism. I mean, it's open-ended. It's like saying anything goes. It just makes no sense. How can common people, I guess they don't think at all and don't care?
We should do just a listing in the paper, and I'll do that, either November, December, a listing in the paper saying, okay, where are you, do you lock your doors at night? Or do you leave your front door open? Okay, do you want to lock the borders, or do you want to leave the borders open for everybody to come in?
Oh, I see.
And just go down the list of where the current liberals that have hijacked a once proud Democrat Party, well, sometimes proud, I'm not really sure, I can really go back. I go back to Lincoln and say, okay, wait a second, who was the one that freed the slaves?
Yeah.
Okay, it was a Republican.
And who was it that defended slavery too? Is another.
Okay, who did who was most of the Klan? The Democrats. It seems as though they've turned the whole of history upside down. And people don't know that. I don't think anyway.
I think
it'd be interesting to kind of list it down, and then maybe people would
begin to compare.
Yeah, kind of compare, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's a great idea. I can't see how it can hurt.
How do you stand on this
You
issue?
can
Instead of
only
saying
hope.
how the politician stands, do a self-evaluation. How do I feel?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it just makes sense to me that if you have a society, you have to have rules to make that society run. You just can't have a society with no rules, no regulations, open-ended. Anything goes, and that's essentially what it's close to what the Democrats are doing.
It's anything goes that they say. Now,
Anything goes that they say. Yeah.
Now the UMass football coach used the word rape. He lost his game. He's a terrible coach. I think his stats were like he's won 14 out of the last 60 games, or 54 games, or something like that. So he's a terrible coach. But they had some play. They were down by 16 at the time. They had some play, and the flag was put on the flag. Flag was on the play for pass interference, and then afterwards they picked it up and said, no, nothing here. And they went on. After they interviewed him after the show, he's like, yeah, we got raped. Well, he just got suspended. It's not a big suspension. He got suspended because he used the word rape.
Yeah.
In rape.
Oh, that happened recently.
Yes.
I heard that.
Well, they got ripped off. They got jumped. They got the officiating was bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so now the Democrats are jumping on him because he used the word rape wrong. So what other words are we not going to be able to use, or if we misspeak, what are the penalties going to be to us? So I have a problem with that too, and that we have to be them. Look, I have 8 street boxes in the city of Salem. You got to pay for a permit to put the boxes on the streets, and you go in there and you can pick up a paper. I call them target practice, because every single month there's a door ripped off, there's a box smashed in, or the box is missing.
Really?
That's the loving, peaceful, tolerant
Salem.
people there. There was one guy that went online. He does tour guides for witch tours, and he says on his Facebook page, somebody sent it to us, and I printed it, like a January, February edition. I printed it, and his little Facebook thing there. He says he goes into stores when he sees a paper, he steals them and throws them away. Because you can't deal with this. You know, we have Bible quotes in every single newspaper. You know, I love putting in Bible quotes. I love putting on things about Second Amendment. We have writers about your gun rights and what you can do and cannot do, and Guns 101, and why you should consider it and why you shouldn't consider owning a gun, depending upon what works for you, you know, and why you should do self-defense or different tips. We have a lot of unique things in the paper, and we hold a lot of politicians accountable, and those are things you're not supposed to talk about guns and religion and and holding any politicians accountable. So it is kind of fun. Look, this one here, you know, we put Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah on the front page. I don't think you see that in too many papers. Oops, I'm sorry. You know, Merry Christmas, but we do. You know, so it's been fun. You know.
What do you see as the future? It's hard to, I would imagine.
I'm extremely optimistic.
You are?
I am extremely optimistic. I think that there are so many intelligent people out there, people watching your show. Anybody watching, okay, winner, absolute winner who's listening, because they're willing to listen to me and not agree with me maybe on certain things, but they're willing to listen. Big thumbs up right there, you know? And the more we keep doing this, you're in your 93rd or 94th episode. I'm on my 55th, working on the 56th now. The more we keep doing this and getting information out, and hopefully hundreds of others or thousands of others will continue to do the same thing, the more we keep having that dialogue with folks. And you and I might terribly disagree on something, but afterwards, you know, do what Kennedy did, you know, hardly disagree, let's go have a beer, you know. I probably shouldn't bring up drinking with him, sorry about that. But you know what I mean. You gotta have fun in life. So I'm optimistic. What bums me out is I thought that prejudice, racism was gonna be gone. I thought by the time my 3 kids were old, which they're older now, they're in their late 20s, I didn't think they'd even have anything to do with it at all. And then we had Obama, and all of a sudden we're a racist world again, and all of a sudden it's sex and females and this and whatever it happens to be. I don't get that. I thought we were so beyond ethnicity and skin color, and we were all humans, and you know, we're getting along. Where'd this come from? Flashback, you know, the 60s want you back, you know. I'm kind of hoping that goes away. I was praying my kids would not be subjected to it at all.
The Democrats had to bring it back.
Why?
Out of fear of losing, and even having lost an election, this one in particular, I think that's where all the venom comes from.
I'm thinking that some of the best boss I ever worked for was gay, okay? I'm as straight as they come, okay? One of the best guys I ever worked with was a big black guy. I hadn't even thought about that till now, but it's like, who cares what your sexual orientation is or what your color of your skin? I don't care. What do you like as a person, you know? That's it, you know? So I don't think we can go any lower than we had been, and I'm kind of hoping optimistically that things are going to be much better, but it's going to be a long haul. Republican Party, Massachusetts, gone, dead, junk, that's it. Oh, good telltale. You guys had Scott Lively on. I was thrilled to be able to put in the paper a couple of his articles, and
He was terrific.
he had nothing for money. About $150,000 he spent against $7 million from Baker.
Yeah.
So Baker's out there constantly telling everybody how wonderful he is, TV ads, etc. And
I was one of the fools that listened to him in Billerica when he had one of his, and I really believed in the guy. And then when I saw what he did, how he voted and how he was opposed to Trump, and I just couldn't believe it.
well, I have personally pledged to give Charlie Baker the exact amount of respect, the exact amount of support that he's given President Trump.
Okay,
So
that's fair.
he blanked Trump, I'm blanking Charlie.
Yeah.
Okay, Lonnie,
So-
what if we just, in order of wrapping things up, how if we tell people again,
down
if
a
they
few
are looking
minutes
to
ahead.
have to get a copy of Boston Broadside, how do they do it? Who do they contact? Is it online?
Yeah.
Tell them what they can
Yeah.
do. Tell us what we can do.
We put a few stories online, but really our whole focus is the printed page. But we do put a few stories up online.
So
You can go to
people-
www.bostonbroadside.com. I just got over a cold, so someone took my voice, so forgive me.
I couldn't tell that.
But
So
it's bostonbroadside.com.
I think we have it up on the screen.
Oh, okay,
too.
great, super. There,
And so if you
Yeah,
go to that
fantastic.
website, you can request a copy of the.
Yep, you can subscribe to the paper. You can also phone call us, 978-352-6800. It's on every page of every paper. Subscribers are what makes the paper. Their donation to the paper is tremendous. It prints it and distributes it. It's $30 for a year. You get one monthly, and
I don't
then
know when
occasionally
that
it's
is,
an extra.
I have to call.
Okay, and you should get a bill, believe me. You'll get a bill at
I'll
some
get a
point.
bill, okay,
And,
that's good,
but I got a whole
that's
bunch of
all
extra
right.
copies for you here.
All
It's
right.
$30 for a year, and most people, that bulk mailing that goes out from the printer, it gets them in time. They get it in a week. Some people, depending upon where you are, it takes longer, so they'll do the first class mailing. So they can do first class, they get it 2 or 3 days after the publication date. And that's more money, that's $45, an extra $15. So for $30, you're set. If you find it's getting there too slow and you want to upgrade it, upgrade it. We put it in an envelope. We actually have had a few people who weren't getting their bulk paper, so we had to put it into blank manila envelopes. Sometimes I have the kids draw on them, different things, because I think they see the Boston Broadside and somebody's
Okay.
snagging it.
And if we
So
could-
978-352-6800, I'm sorry.
One last time.
978-352-6800
For
Boston
subscription.
Broadside subscriptions. You can leave a message there anytime, like if you're calling now or after hours or something like that. We'll get back to you. Tell us when to call you. We'll get back to you.
And Lonnie, we're glad to hear that you feel you're optimistic about the future.
I'm an eternal optimist.
If anyone out there is looking to make that 10-year transition to where Republicans are a viable party again, contact me personally, Larry Way, lway54@cs.com. I'd like to introduce you to the Burlington Town Republican Party. We meet monthly. We'd love to have you there. We'd love to have you part of this movement.
Ditto. Ditto.
Cool.
Lonnie, we've got a few seconds left. Thank you ever so much for joining us. And
The honor's mine. Thank you for having me down here. You know, this is great.
No, what I was going to say was I'm hoping that you continue to grow, and next year we will, you go on my list, and we do repeats. So a year from now, we'll be looking for you again.
Hope we don't put your audience to sleep a year from now.
No. This is good stuff. This is serious stuff, and you've shown exactly what we're trying to do and what you're trying to do with the paper, and I think that's important
Quickly,
stuff.
Pat, who would you like to have? Who else are we planning to have on the show?
Hoping to have Dee Dorrington to speak about, and she has written for the paper, to speak about abortion. That's going to be, I believe, in 2 weeks. We have Steve Yetman, the fire chief in Burlington, who's going to join us.
Retiring fire chief.
Huh?
Retiring
Fire chief, yes. And anyway, keep in touch. We have a whole host of different people that are going to be joining
And
us.
stay tuned
I
for
hope-
the year-end show, too.
Yes. Stay
Cool.
tuned, please. And thank you so much. Oh, we're
Thank
out.
you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you.